So I've had a few videos I've wanted to make lately, so I'm going to try and hammer some out. I've already been working on some today. I'm going to hammer out some more here. I've got my 3R pods here, and it's time to winterize them. I've actually already winterized the 2020 190 all the way on the end there. And so today I'm going to winterize the 2021 190, and that's what this video is going to be about. So try and hammer through it quickly and try and get everything covered. I've got mostly just some pretty basic tools here. So I'll show you how I do it, and hopefully you'll find this video helpful. So we're going to start out with some of the tools and supplies that I've got. I'm actually probably going to use more RV antifreeze in this. I've got barely over a gallon. We'll see how it goes. I've got plenty more in the garage if I need it. Then I've got this Camco. You can almost get by without this Camco pump, but it's like 15 bucks from Camping World, this Camco winterizing pump. And then I've got another Camco adapter here, and they do make some fittings that are literally just one piece like that with a little nipple coming right out the end. This particular one came without the nipple, and I put my own on to match up with my airline fittings. So we got that is mandatory. And then I've got a socket and a wrench for the anode rod and the water heater. And what is that? That is 1/16", as you can see there. Also mandatory. And then I've got a pressure regulator so I can dial down the air pressure. I'm just plugged into my shop area out in the shed. If you've got a small air compressor, a lot of those have their own regulator built in, and you can just dial that down. So you might not need that part if you're just running a small air compressor. So this 2021 190 is actually quite a bit easier than the 2020 due to some changes they've made. And I'll kind of cover that in case you do have a 2020. I'll cover some of the differences, but yeah, so that's what we got. So we're gonna get into it here. First off, I am going to, so this thing, the tanks are empty, they've been drained. The water heater has not been, and the low points have not been. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just crack open these low point drains. There actually looked like there's a little bit of antifreeze in the bottom of that one from whenever it was winterized last time. So I've got those cracked open. Next thing I'm gonna do, you can already hear the bubbling in here. We're gonna open up, I don't know if I got that, we're gonna open up the pressure relief valve, and then we're gonna take our socket and wrench and we're gonna pull the anode rod out. So I don't have 3 hands, so I'm gonna stop the video momentarily and loosen up that anode rod. Okay, I cracked the anode rod loose, so now I can just go and do it by hand here. I pull that out. Pretty typical that the anode rod looks corroded. That means it's doing its job. So, and then because I've got the pressure relief valve opened up, it drains out really fast. So yeah, we're gonna let these two things drain. You can see we still have the cold water draining, and this is gonna be draining for a little bit here. There's like 6 gallons in it, so it shouldn't take too long. But we'll let that stuff drain out, and I will check back with you in a moment. Okay, we are inside the unit now. This is quite a bit different than my 2020 190. For starters, this is an aluminum frame under the bed, which I mostly like, although there's some, I don't know if you call it shoddy workmanship, but it's welded on one side and not the other, which seems to be pretty much how it is down the line. The welds don't look particularly impressive, but, well, crap, you can see it wiggling all the way down on that end. I may reinforce that. We'll see. Well, by reinforce, I mean just actually weld it. But anyways, what I do like is the way the base is. On the 2020, the plywood is all screwed down. So, and it's a sheet that runs across it. There's 2 sheets. In this, there's 2 sheets. You can see there's one still there. But the way they've done this one, actually neither sheet is screwed down, which seems a little odd to me. But I just folded the mattress over. This has the factory mattress, which is very thin and easy to fold over. So I folded it over and just picked up the plywood and set it on top there. So no tools needed to get in here at all. So far, this is really quick and easy. Some of the usual stuff, gonna bust the vacuum out because there's piles of debris in here still. But on this one, another difference from the 2020 190 is that this has a hose already installed to drop into your antifreeze jug, and there's just a valve right down here that we're gonna need to switch so it sucks it out of this tube instead of from the freshwater tank. The other thing we're gonna be doing here is we're gonna flip these valves on the water heater. These are the bypass valves, so we're gonna flip both of those, and these valves, if you're not familiar with ball valves, the way the handle's facing tells you what valve is open. So in this case now we have bypassed. It's going to flow straight through here instead of, if we turned it like that, then that would mean we've got a connection here. So when we flip it that way, we're bypassing the water heater because we do not need to fill that up with refrigerant, or excuse me, with coolant. So so we've got that all flipped over. We're going to leave this one in that position momentarily because we still need to blow everything out. That's another step that some people say you can skip. I like to try and get all the water out of the system before introducing antifreeze. That way you don't dilute down the antifreeze in case you did have a pocket of water somewhere in there. So, I mean, you would have a pocket of water in there if you didn't blow the lines out. So now that we've got the water heater bypassed, we're going to step back outside and we're going to hook up the compressed air. So we're back out here. I've put my fitting into our city water connection. I'm going to, we're done draining everything, so I'm going to reinstall this anode rod. And I think, what are these things, like 10, 15 bucks each? I may put a new one in next year. We'll see. But it's pretty cheap insurance and it's doing its job. It's taking the corrosion for the tank. So we've got that back in. We're gonna tighten it down. We will not need to take this back out again. All right, so we got that snug down. We're gonna close the pressure relief valve here. It's kind of in a goofy position, and well, I'll do that off camera, but you can see it's in a goofy position. It just like jammed up against something there. So I'm gonna swivel that and close it. And then we're gonna hook up some compressed air. We're gonna start at really low PSI just to be safe, and then we're gonna work it up to about 30 PSI. Okay, I've closed the low point drains. I've flipped that in the off position. I've dialed the pressure all the way down. One of the reasons I kind of like using this style of regulator as opposed to just on the compressor. Of course, you could set the compressor right here in front of you, but this is nice because I've got it dialed all the way down before I hooked it up. Now we can slowly bring it up, and you really don't need to blast this with anything too crazy, but we're going to go up to about 30 PSI here. It's holding pressure because everything's turned off. We'll start by cracking open the low points. You can see we're definitely spraying some water out there. Not anything crazy, but definitely spraying it out. We'll close those back up again. Now's the time when we want to go around and open everything up. On the 2020, there's an outdoor shower right under the kitchen window. This one is equipped with that, so one less thing to worry about. But we're going to go around here. I already hooked up my sprayer out here, so we're going to open that up, and now I'm obviously getting quite a bit of water out of this. So if I remember right on the 2020, it was the same deal. I got an awful lot of water out of the sprayer port. Now it's pretty much just blowing off. Tiny bit of water isn't going to kill us, but obviously we got a lot of water out of it. Then we're going to step inside here. We'll turn on the kitchen sink. Fair amount of water out of that. Then we're going to go into the bathroom. Turn on the bathroom machine. Then we're going to do the toilet. Now this can be a little bit messy because it's definitely going to want to spray like it's been doing out of all the fixtures, so I'm going to kind of Okay, that's probably good for that. I am going to try and set the shower head kind of down here, and we're going to open this up. That was the cold. Now we'll get the hot. Alright, quite a bit of water in there too. So that shows you why I like to blow them out before putting the antifreeze in. So, everything blowing out, so we're going to go back over here and we're going to disconnect our compressed air. Easy enough to do. I'm going to unscrew that, and I'm going to start by pumping a little bit of antifreeze through this port. We really don't need to do much, but I do like to cover all of the plumbing, so you would miss a couple feet if you did not hook a pump up to this. That's why I've got this Camco hand pump. So, gonna hook that up, and okay, we've now got our Camco pump hooked up, and we've opened up the low point drains. Probably not gonna be able to do this and film it at the same time. That's all right. I'm just gonna pump this. I mostly opened up those. I don't necessarily need to get the antifreeze pumped through the entire system this way. I just need to get the first couple feet inside that connection port there. So since we've opened up those low point drains, we're not going to build up pressure. We're actually going to pump it through. So I'm going to give it a couple good pumps, get some through here. Then we're going to disconnect it, close the low point drains, and go back inside. Okay, it did not take long to start getting some RV antifreeze coming out there. You can see it's pink. If it's still flowing a little bit there, you can see. So just maybe like 3 pumps, and half of that was getting it to run through the pump. So now I'm going to disconnect this, and then we're going to bring a jug inside, and we're going to start what's next in there after closing this. Okay, we are inside now, and I've got this hose that has no end on it specifically for this. I've got that now put into the antifreeze jug. So then we need to reach down here to where this switch is, and we're going to turn it. So we're going to draw out of this hose instead of out of the freshwater tank. So now you might be wondering, why do you have to do this, and why can't you just use that hand pump and open up all the fixtures inside and do it that way? Well, the reason is very simple. Here is your city water connection line that comes in, loops around here, and goes right down and tees into the rest of the system. Down just a couple inches from it, kind of covered in wires, but this hose is also teed into that. Well, this hose comes around and goes right to the pump, and then on the inlet side of the pump, it comes out of the freshwater tank, or in this case, we've bypassed it and we're pulling out of here. So what you would miss if you just used the city water connection is you would miss the pump. And so the really critical thing about that, and the other thing I'm going to do here, I don't know how well I'll be able to get it on video, but I am going to crack open. You've got your little filter on the inlet side of the pump. I am going to open that up. In fact, I'm going to do that momentarily here before I run the RV antifreeze through, because otherwise I'll be cracking it open, spilling RV antifreeze. So I'm going to open that up and just clean it out, make sure it's not full of gunk while I'm doing this. And then I'll be back in a moment, and we'll get the pump turned on and start circulating the antifreeze. We're going to try and get this on film here. So I've grabbed some paper towels and set them underneath, and there's going to be the first problem. Set them underneath this little filter, and now I'm going to unscrew it. We'll definitely spill some water, although since we blew everything out, maybe we won't. All right, very little water, so that makes it easy. So look at that. You can see there's a bit of crud in there. Quite a bit of crud, actually. So very worthwhile to pull that out as long as you're in here. So I'm going to set this little cup aside, and then the filter itself just pulls right off the bottom. And that doesn't look too bad, but there's another chunk of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to clean this stuff off, maybe blow it off and everything, and then reinstall it. But I would say that was quite worthwhile to do, because there is kind of a pile of crud in there, and this thing has been in use for a couple months, so not a long time. Okay, filter's reinstalled, and now we're simply going to turn on. We've got the low point drains closed. Everything's closed up, so we're going to turn the pump on. You can see it immediately starts pulling out of the jug there. It's not going to run real long here. It's going to run until it builds up pressure in the system. There's some air in there, so it's actually going to keep running until we turn something on. So now we're going to go through. I don't know that it matters much, but we're going to go through and turn on the fixtures, run them, and they actually, it almost looks like regular water initially because of the foam in it, but you can see we've got our RV antifreeze coming out there. We're gonna look back over here. We're still doing plenty good on the jug level. Going to the bathroom. Get the shower. Definitely some water coming out still. Now we get to the antifreeze. Antifreeze. Now we're going to go to the toilet and cautiously open up the valve. Antifreeze pretty much right away there. We're going to look back over here, and I wonder, okay, it looks like our hose isn't very deep in the jug, so maybe that is part of our problem from the get-go, maybe even. I don't know if there's a good way of doing this. The hose kind of wants to stay in the shape that it was in. So the other option, of course, is just getting another full jug. But we'll see where that gets us. Now we're going to step back out here. We're going to turn on the sprayer. We're going to run that. There's definitely some water. And now we are to the antifreeze. So, have we gotten everything? We've gotten the kitchen sink, we've gotten the bathroom sink, we've gotten the toilet, we've gotten the shower, we've gotten the outdoor sprayer. I would say that we've gotten everything, so we're going to turn off the pump now since we're probably still pulling more air in. But, so we did pretty good actually. So, I've still got a little bit in a jug outside, so we actually have used, so far, less than 1 gallon. I am going to go around, we'll get this next on the video, but I'm going to go around and pour some down each drain to make sure it's in the traps and all of that. But at this point now, we're going to actually release the pressure out of the system. So we'll just turn on the kitchen sink here. We'll just let that run until we've reduced the pressure down to 0. And that's important because then we're going to open up those valves back to the water heater tank, and if we had pressure we would start pumping RV antifreeze into the water heater, and we don't need to do that. So just a couple drops here, and now we're good. So we're going to turn that back off. We're going to go back over here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down, I'm going to turn this bypass valve into the non-bypass mode, so we're not going to draw in from this tube anymore. And then we're going to change our water heater valves back to draw out of the water heater. So we can pull this out, and if you might want to have some paper towels handy. We didn't drip any, but that would be your only concern there. And that is just sitting right where it was. So I'm going to clean that out, clean the debris out of there. But otherwise, we're good in there. And so our last step, and in some of these sinks or fixtures, we probably already accomplished this, but I would prefer to be generous because RV antifreeze is cheap. Fixing plumbing isn't. Let's see, then we'll get the shower here. And I am going to grab some paper towels and go and wipe all this up. I don't know if this stuff will stain or not, but don't want to risk it. So I have now tapped out the first gallon, and I've got the second gallon here, which has just a little bit left, but I think that's going to be about right. I'm going to pour that, and maybe I'll even pour a little bit more. I don't mind having a little bit of stuff sitting in the black of the gray tanks, so maybe I'll just take another gallon of it and pour a half a gallon down the toilet and pour a half a gallon down to the gray tank. That way we've got a little bit in there, because you didn't get all of the water out when you drain the tank, so diluting it a little bit is probably a good idea. Heck, it might not even be a bad idea to just pour a full gallon down each drain. Full gallon down the toilet, full gallon down the kitchen sink or whatever, and then we should be pretty good with that. All right, the next couple steps I've done here, I have not pulled the sheet off the mattress yet. I'm going to do that. I don't know if there's really a good way to try and stand the mattress up. I don't want to like permanently kink it or anything like that, so it's probably just going to sit there. But I have thrown some dryer sheets under here. Same thing in the bathroom, throwing some dryer sheets around in the cabinets. A little rodent repeller there, and another one there. Heck, I've got 2 of them in here, and that's just what I'm planning on doing. But for that matter, you could throw another one there. You could really load these things up everywhere. But this thing is going to be plugged in all winter, and the battery is going to be left on it. I'm just going to plug it in and leave it so that these rodent repellers are going, and so that the battery stays topped off. It's going to be stored inside, but not climate controlled, so it'll be in the cold. So I've cleaned everything out. I've got a bin here. I've got 3 campers, so I'm just grabbing a bin per camper, loading everything into them. Gonna get as much stuff cleared out as I can. I'm also gonna I'm sort of half done here. I'm gonna stand the cushions up in the back here, and then in all the storage compartments, I'm gonna throw some more of these bounce fabric softener sheets. And then I think we'll be in pretty good shape. The other thing I'm going to do when I do park it is I'm going to park it on blocks of wood, so that it is going to be in a shed, but it's a dirt floor, so I'm going to have the tires on blocks of wood just to keep them up off the dirt. And that is pretty much how it's going to set. So I think I've got everything pretty well covered here. Hopefully you found it helpful. And yeah, thanks for watching.